These are certainly unprecedented times, having to do this remotely, and I hope you all are staying safe wherever you all are around the world. As the Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Cyber and International Communications Policy, I lead a team of approximately 50 professionals in Washington, D.C. They are committed to ensuring that the United States remains the global leader in protecting cyberspace, facilitating the development of innovative technologies, and growing the digital economy. We implement key pillars of the President's national security strategy related to security and economic competitiveness. We recognize that in doing so, the fundamental principle that economic security is national security. Our responsibilities related to information and communications technology include ensuring that the internet and data flows remain open and interoperable across borders, and that digital technology is secure and resilient. Pursuing these policies supports a vibrant and innovative digital economy worldwide. To ensure the national security of the United States and our partners and allies, we promote trusted supply chains that safeguard communication networks, including for 5G. Today, I plan to focus my remarks on three important aspects of 5G. First, I will discuss how the COVID pandemic has increased demand for trusted and reliable connectivity. Second, I will talk about our 5G security campaign and why I believe it is so important. And third, I will highlight the growing international consensus on the importance of trusted and secure 5G networks. Increased demand for connectivity during this devastating pandemic has made digital technology more important than ever. The fact that we're able to speak virtually and continue to get work done is due to the phenomenal advances made in the information and communications technology space over the last decade. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought the critical nature of ICT sector's work to the focus of industry, governments, and the general public. Everyone now realizes the importance of digital technology for telemedicine, education, and doing business. The economic impact of the virus certainly would have been much worse around the world if digital connectivity did not enable broad sectors of the economy to continue operating. So as the world learns how digital technology underpins almost everything we do, people also are becoming more aware of the need for it to be secure and reliable. We are seizing this moment to underscore to governments around the world that information communications technology are, in fact, critical infrastructure and should be secured as such. Many are beginning to comprehend this reality. The consequences of 5G deployment choices made during the next year or so by governments and by telecom operators will be felt for years, if not decades, to come. So countries need to make the right decisions now. Countries need to be able to trust the 5G equipment and software companies, and that they will not threaten their national security, privacy, intellectual property, or human rights. Trust cannot exist where telecom vendors are subject to an authoritative government like the People's Republic of China, which lacks an independent judiciary or the rule of law that would effectively prohibit the misuse of data or the disruption of critical networks. In addition, in authoritarian countries, there is no way for individuals to challenge such untoward activities. The principle that 5G vendors should not be under the ownership or control of a country that lacks democratic checks and balances was enshrined in the Prague 5G security proposals that were developed at an international conference in the Czech Republic among 32 countries in May of 2019. The ownership control of a company like Huawei is not transparent, and the company has a history of unethical and illegal behavior, including intellectual property theft. Allowing untrusted, high-risk vendors such as Huawei and ZTE into any part of 5G networks makes critical systems vulnerable to disruption, manipulation, and espionage, while putting sensitive government, commercial, and personal information at risk. While this year's Prague Security Conference is being rescheduled because of COVID, we are working closely with our partners in the Czech Republic who are committed to making sure that when this year's conference does occur, it will build on last year's successes and provide specific tools and strategies for countries to ensure that their 5G networks are secure. At some point in the coming year, the Czech Republic will also launch a 5G repository that is a virtual library housing existing tools, assessment frameworks, and sample legislative and regulatory measures to assist countries with their own efforts to implement best practices when deploying 5G networks. We are collaborating with allies and partners to ensure that this repository houses the most up-to-date and effective information. As Secretary Pompeo said on June 24th, the tide is turning against Huawei, as citizens and governments around the world are waking up to the dangers of the Chinese Communist Party surveillance state and suppression of information. More and more countries are taking strong actions to secure their 5G networks. We welcome the news last week that the United Kingdom plans to prohibit new purchases of 5G equipment from Huawei and phase out existing equipment from its telecommunications networks. We understand the United Kingdom made this important decision in order to protect its own national security interest. We will continue to work with the United Kingdom on fostering a secure and vibrant 5G ecosystem, which is critical to transatlantic prosperity and security. The United Kingdom is just one of a growing list of countries that are standing up for their security by prohibiting the use of untrusted vendors in their 5G networks. We have seen a number of countries across Europe, including the Czech Republic, Poland, Romania, Denmark, Estonia, Latvia, Sweden, and Greece that are prohibiting these high-risk vendors from their networks. Telecommunications vendors are also taking action on their own. Telefonica in Spain, Orange in France, the largest telecom operators in those countries, as well as Jio in India, Telstra in Australia, SK and KT in South Korea, NTT in Japan, and the telecom operators in Canada and Singapore, as well as many others, have made the decision to only use trusted vendors in their 5G deployments. I encourage all countries to secure their communication networks by prohibiting untrusted vendors, thereby increasing the attractiveness of their digital infrastructure to outside investment. Investors are more inclined to invest in countries that are secure from interference or disruption by vendors that could be subject to the control of authoritarian regimes. The more countries, companies, and citizens ask whom they should trust with their most sensitive data, the more obvious the answer becomes, not the Chinese Communist Party's surveillance state. Let me stop there. I know there's a number of questions already been submitted, and I look forward to answering those and many more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So now we'll turn over to the Q&A. For those of you joining via the Zoom app and not by phone, please click on the raise hand button at the bottom of the participant list, and I will call on you. Please provide your full name and outlet prior to asking your question. And so the first hand I had seen up is from Nikhila. We will unmute you. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie, and I hope you're able to hear me, Assistant Secretary Strayer.
Yes, I am. Yes, I can.
Great. So I'm Nikhila Natarajan, or Nikki for short, with the Indo-Asian Newswire and the Observer Research Foundation, a think tank. Just one question, really, following on from the Clean Path and Trusted 5G Network vendors theme, with 3 ingredients tossed into that question. I'll keep it really short. Ingredient 1, what is the US's assessment on the homegrown 5G solution developed by India's Reliance Industries? I know you mentioned it just now. During the president's visit to Delhi in February, Mr. Ambani told him he's building 5G without a single Chinese component. And last Wednesday, Ambani stated Reliance is ready to roll. Your comments? Ingredient 2, what's US advice to legacy networks in India still using Huawei and ZTE, still significantly dependent on Chinese components? And finally, your latest assessment on Zoom's extraordinary dependence on the Chinese. Thank you.
Great, Nikki. Those are great questions. We could probably spend most of an hour talking about them more in depth. So I would give some just brief responses to them. With regard to Reliance Jio, we're pleased to hear that they're using trusted vendors. You know, I think the lesson of Reliance Jio is that there's nothing mystical about 5G technology. It has the same types of components that 4G technology has. It's just evolved to another level. So there's ways that indigenous production could occur in India, and really there's a global market of different components that go into these, between the antenna, the base stations, the backhaul, the core servers, and management of the network are things that have occurred in previous generations, and it's things that can be continued on. So I hope that there's, as we deepen our trade relationship in the digital area with India, that is for both hardware components and software, that we see a flourishing of collaboration and innovation, so that India has the best of ICT technology, and the United States does as well. With regard to the legacy untrusted technology with untrusted vendors, all technology has a life cycle. It wears out more quickly than other types of equipment that businesses purchase, other types of capital expenditure, because technology moves so quickly, as we all know. New generations come out, new capabilities, faster computing, better storage. So as that life cycle wears out, or if you will, depreciates, it makes the equipment less relevant and less usable for today's needs. Those are good opportunities to replace it. So there's ways to look at the life cycle of equipment and replace it according to that. Our campaign is focused on the move to 5G, but we realize the legacy 3G and 4G infrastructure will underpin the move to 5G. So we do encourage governments and telecom operators to look at how they can start migrating away, that is, from untrusted vendors to trusted vendors. On the last point, we are concerned, I think, just if I can just abstract that even higher level, what's fundamentally the focus that we have is to ensure that information that belongs to citizens around the world, their private information, as well as the intellectual property that belongs to businesses, that information be secure, and that the information not fall in the hands of governments that are authoritarian in nature, where they do not have a rule of law set of protections that govern them, and where it's impossible for individuals to go to court to adjudicate their rights with regard to those government policies, or for companies to seek redress for the theft of their intellectual property. Just today, the United States indicted 2 Chinese actors for the theft of hundreds of millions of dollars of intellectual property, including they also made attempts to access COVID research that was being done in the United States. So those are concerns about the way that Chinese companies would act under the control of the Chinese Communist Party, and it's ones that we should be vigilant about in whatever we do with our whatever kind of company we're doing business with. Thank you.
Thank you so much.